The early years is when mom and dad have the best time to create a routine for good, nutritious food. So vegetables, fiber-rich foods, and protein-rich foods are important. Childhood obesity is an epidemic. It's rampant, and it's a big, big medical problem. Right now, we are watching children from ages 1 to make sure that they don't get overweight and obese. One of the biggest problems we have is use of fast food with children that are not prepared for it, or juice at home in excessive amounts.
Nutrition matters all across the board for brain development. And there are some researchers that are telling us that this is going to be the first generation that does not outlive its parents because of the obesity rate and the kinds of foods that children are eating. Food for the brain is common sense. A common sense diet is what's most important.
The brain especially, starting at infancy, needs 2 types of nutrients, more so than others. Now again, it needs a whole host, but fat and proteins, appropriate kinds of fats. And protein sources. One of the reasons is because that fat helps to support myelination. Now, myelin is this kind of white fatty substance that actually gets laid down on the neurons and the connections in between the neurons in the brain. And so if we have the appropriate kinds of nutrition sources, then we get the appropriate kinds of fats that will help to support that myelin being laid down. Why the big deal about myelin? Well, with myelin, a neuron can process up to 100 times faster than it can without. That means that the brain becomes a more effective, more efficient processor.
Your children need to learn lots of senses. So at first your baby may not like the texture of a protein or the texture of yogurt. It's important that we continue to offer those so their senses get activated with all of the textures of foods. It's very important that your brain gets a common sense diet, which means it needs everything from the food pyramid. It does need protein, it does need a little bit of fat, it does need fruits and vegetables.
And so we need all of those nutrients in combination with each other to support successful neurological functioning. And so we want our brains to be able to support our academic learning, yes, but we also want our brains to be able to support our social and emotional interaction. And you think about a classroom situation. If we wake up in the morning and we give our 3-year-old basically a bowl of sugar for breakfast, right, with some of our processed sugar-filled breakfast cereals, right? And those are simple carbs, and they burn off really fast. They don't stay around in the body long enough for the brain to really utilize them.
Right now, we are checking not only weight and height, but something called the BMI, which is body mass index, to catch children that are overweight early so we can start talking to parents about it. Childhood obesity is a terrible medical problem because it can lead to diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, and also self-esteem issues.
The preservatives that are in those foods are altering kids' brain chemistry. So you may have seen recently they're talking about the dyes that are in food. What we know is all of that chemical that's been put in food does alter the brain. As an adult, it may make us sleepy or it may make us feel a little jittery to have too much caffeine. However, to a child, it's changing the brain chemistry dramatically.
And around that dinner table, while we were, sharing mashed potatoes and meatloaf and all of those things, we would talk, and the talk would be very lively. I think creating that sort of routine of eating together, eating healthy food together, of course, is really important, and not sort of using food as a pacifier, where you just plop a kid in front of TV and quick do a pizza in the microwave. And
you might need to look for alternative formats. They might not like cooked vegetables, but they'll eat them raw, or they don't like them raw, but they will eat them cooked. The brain needs that pyramid for common sense the idea of it needs some proteins, it needs the fruits and vegetables. That's going to be critical in making that brain being able to think and work at its optimal potential.